No, I know we were just here, but looking forward to the week. Monroe is a team that they're 7-2 at home, just playing really well. I know Louisiana hasn't been the best win-loss record so far, but obviously putting up 100 points against a conference team, I take you very seriously. So some familiar faces. They got 2 App State transfers, and Mays Prince played at Georgia Southern last year. So we got some familiarity, but it'll be a big week for us. That game specifically, just making sure we go play a road game the way we want to play a road game.
Yeah, I guess we talked a little bit about this on Saturday too, but like when you say play a road game the way you want to, like what does that take? What are your messages? How do you – I know you don't prepare any differently, but what do you do that's different?
No, I think I hope our team is different anyway from 2 weeks ago, right, from that road stretch. And I hope our behavior in the 2 games we played at home will carry over. And I think maybe it's just that, right, being able to defend the way we want to defend. Like, that's where it all begins. But, yeah, I mean, our Sunbelt road performances haven't been great, right? But I'm not ready to just we just struggle on the road. Nah, we beat East Carolina pretty good on the road. Now we didn't play 6 road games non-conference, and maybe that has a little bit to do with it. But my sole focus will be like pour everything we got into this game, this Monroe team, and that is it. And so you want to play well in somebody else's environment, and I do think people are better at home than on the road. I mean, we certainly are. So the details of it, I don't exactly know yet, but I want our team to understand the urgency in which we need to play without overthinking. We're not good on the road. Like, I just don't buy that necessarily. East Carolina's beating some teams now, by the way. They're doing very well in their league. So, side note.
We touched on it a little bit too after the games the past week, but you did shake things up as far as Regina and even Kylie against Marshall getting in there early in the games, and then it was Gemma got in for a few minutes there early. Like, what kind of, outside of Angela not being available,
sure,
were there other things that led to you saying like, hey, this is what we're going to do as far as like shaking up the rotation, or where we're going to grab minutes from people here and there? Yeah,
I looked at it from a different viewpoint, and Regina is I think totally separate than Angela. I do think Gemma's minutes will be affected. Angela is now back. She'll be back full go when we practice Tuesday. But I think Gemma's role, and I'm glad because Gemma's been out here. She shoots extra. She's in the gym. We just have, Gemma was recruited here right before we knew Barnes had another year. You know what I mean? And so, like, now Barnes comes back another year. She gets just popped down the depth chart a little bit more. But the Regina decision for us was just taking a look at our team and healthy bodies. Obviously, if you can handle the workload, it's just a different. Like, why are we not using somebody that is really good and solid every day? And Regina's not going to be out here. I don't expect Regina to ever score 30 points in a game, but just really, really solid decision maker, does her job. Like, we can use that, I think. I think I've put a little bit too much on Bree and Z sometimes with minutes and responsibilities. And I think Regina coming in for Z early alleviates Zakaya's load a little bit and alleviates Bree's load, right? Where Bree can really, like, we're asking Bree to do a lot of things, right? Defend their best player. Now it's like, hey, score from the wing, get to the rim, make a decision, knock down a 3. Oh, wait, you got to play point guard. You got to break a press. And I know if she was sitting right here, she'd be like, I can do it. I can handle it. But it's a lot mentally, right? And I think it can help both Zakaya and Bree, and that's why G was here. It's just taken me a little second to like trust, right? And that's, as a coach, that's who you're putting in the game, is who you trust. And so we're still not finished really shaking, like, all the things that, like, I think Regina gave us great minutes this week. I got to get Kylie Marshall going, man. I got to get her going. And I think we did. The more Kylie can get going or G can get going, do you use Barnes at the 5 a little bit more, which is maybe something we need in a league that doesn't have. There's so many teams in Sunbelt that don't have like a true center, and we do have 2 centers, which I think has helped us with the more traditional teams like a Virginia Tech, right, or Wisconsin or whatever. But I think there's just so much to it that we're still exploring, and it's January 19th, I think. We've got a month before we really got to get clicking and have it all figured out. But we'll be glad to have Angela back. That's one that I've played her in enough games to trust what she does.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kylie, and obviously we know she can shoot, and her minutes have kind of been some games. It's varied depending on the game, maybe depending on the matchup. Like, are you figuring out like what you want to get from her, or do you need to see more in other areas besides her shooting before she gets more minutes, or just what's the process with her?
Yeah, combination for me, and it's just a combination, right? It's look, just like I would say it, Peyton McDaniel, even though I thought she played one of her best defensive games of the year, would never be like the best defender on our team, right? She's never going to surpass Bree Robinson. So Kylie's in that category. Kylie's never going to be the best defender on our team, but like we've got to get. I've played people before that aren't great defenders, but man, they're a bucket, right? And use Rose Scott, for example. I didn't think Rose Scott was great on the defensive end. Man, she touched the ball, that thing was going in. And I think Kylie's just, and it sounds crazy because it is, we've been playing for a long time now, from July on with our Europe trip. She's still just getting comfortable with me and comfortable with us and where we want her. But, knocking it down. I mean, you look, last 5 games, I don't think it's going to be, or even conference games. Let's do that because John brought this to me. Right, she's 5 for 24 and 3 for 17 from 3. Like, she's better than that. She knows that. I know that, right? And so how can I help get her more comfortable in those minutes? And I brought this up yesterday. I was talking to one of my friends, and Steve Kerr used to, when he was playing with the Bulls, he used to sit literally on the bench. He'd do his workout, right? He'd shoot for 30 minutes, whatever. He'd go sit on the bench 3-4 minutes, like pretend there's a game, stand up, check into the table, come in, and have to hit a 3 from the corner, right? Because that's ended up being his role. And is like, is it something like that, right? You're not going to have Kylie right now doesn't have the luxury of playing 8 minutes in a row and kind of letting the game come, right? It's more like, hey, here's your 4 minutes in this first quarter to second quarter area. You're going to get 4 shots. Like, can you go 3 for 4? And I think if she does, it gives me a little bit more leniency with the defensive end, or lack of rebounding presence type of stuff. But combination is that's a long answer. I just gave a long answer, Dave, to a really easy question. But combination, man, it's a combination. Hitting shots will always help, and I wish it was just that easy that I could just say, Kylie, hit, knock them down. She's trying, man. She's trying, and I got to do a better job getting her comfortable because I think she can really serve a important role for us.
I know on Saturday when asked, you said that this past week, this is us. Mm-hmm. What have you seen on tape throughout those past 2 games that makes you believe that, outside of just what the scores were, and what makes you see that it could be that consistent moving forward?
I mean, it's effort on the defensive end, and I think it's a very controllable trait to have. That's it, right? It's not, we didn't shoot 70%. We didn't just get hot and now we're feeling it from 3. Like, now we gave everything on the defensive end for a lot of possessions. Now, it's never the whole game. It never will be that. But the flying around, the stance, the helping each other, we do a help. People call it different stuff, help the helper. We call it smash and sink. And in the Marshall game, I mean, there was 5 to 6 almost perfect baseline drive, smash, somebody sinks, and they sink to get a steal. And instead of 10 games ago, maybe you hit it and it goes out of bounds, it's their ball, right? It's like, no, we're moving faster and caring more and playing more together, and that all translates on the defensive end. And I do think it's a controllable thing to play as hard as you can on the defensive end, because what I really, and again, you're trying to instill it, but like that's got to be your constant. That's got to be your constant. Making baskets, well, you can never control that. But the defensive end and your effort and your knowledge and your all that stuff, that can be a constant.
I know you were just talking about with rotations being able to maybe move Ashanti into the 5. I know her rebounding numbers have continued to improve year after year now, leading the team this year. What have you been able to see in her development on that, and how big is that for you to feel even more comfortable with putting her at the 5 and knowing that you're not losing that rebounding presence?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Peyton, the combination of having Peyton out there too, being a really good rebounder for us, it helps. I mean, it will never be. Having her at the 5, the whole lineup is never going to be a better rebounding lineup than having like a BMAC out there or even a Grace. But I'm really comfortable with her, and I think she's developed a little bit more of her game on the block too. I think she was really aggressive the last 2 games inside, but I just want the versatility. I want any question answered. Let's say that, right? So if we need to go small, we got a lineup we're very, very comfortable going small. If we got to go big, we get very comfortable going big. If we need to play zone, we got to get all those things. But the way she's rebounded and the way she's I just think her confidence is just growing and growing and growing. And it's been really fun to watch for me, because I saw her come in here and there wasn't confidence, her first year especially, a lot of up and down, and now I think she understands how good she is.
Talk about Bree a little bit more. You're mentioning her and all that she can do. It seems like she's kind of become comfortable in this role. It's much different than what she's been used to. She's shooting it really well in conference play. Can you kind of speak to kind of her comfortability right now?
Yeah, she's earned that confidence. I'm really kind of, I hate saying that like I'm jinxing her, but like proud of where she is right now. She goes 4 for 6 from the 3 on the weekend. She's getting to the rim every game. And she still takes it a little personal when the coach is like, she's a driver. It's like, I can shoot too. Yeah, I know you can shoot too, so shoot it and make it. No, she's just, it's one of those ones, like, I'm not going to get caught not appreciating it well enough until it's gone, right? And her defensive effort is unbelievable. I do think she's the best defensive player in the league, and it's going to be hard because people are getting steals playing a zone. That shouldn't be the best defender in the league if you're getting steals in the top of a zone. Anyway, Nikki Newman locked down a lot of people. Didn't lead the league in steals, but I'm just saying that's where I think she is. It's like we are so comfortable saying, Bree, you got her, and I think that that's something that you just don't have every year. So defensively, sure, I think her offense is really increasing game after game. I mean, again, shot 50% on the week as well. Her decision making, I think, is just getting better and better. But I do think a little less of the one has really helped. Just the weight of everything. But no, I mean, Bree is an absolute joy to coach every day. So that's what I can tell you about her.
Delilah gives you so much coming off the bench, and again, she's been rebounding the ball great. How much did her being here for the second semester help in just kind of seeing and learning things, just kind of being around the team last year?
Yeah, I think huge. I was talking about her just yesterday, in that she is so intentional about doing things right and doing things that we do, and so she's really clicked with the rebounding part. Is that you can go into a game. She might. I mean, she played 25 minutes, shot 2 shots yesterday, I believe, right? But like impacts the game and understands what her role is right now. Understands what we need from her and what we don't need from her. Right? Is that you got P out there rolling, like get it to her, man. And when it comes back to you in the corner, be ready to shoot. And she's done that. She's 2 for 2. So right now she's efficient. She cares and wants the knowledge on defense, and she's rebounding the ball. And to me, that's like, man, you're playing your role as well as you can. That's what it looks like to me. And I thought she's had some really good stretches, but being here and having a head start on and watching every Sunbelt game. Now, watching us never lose until the championship last year, right? But like, yeah, watching what it takes and watching how our coaching staff does things and what's important to us and what's going to keep you on the floor and what's not going to keep you on the floor. And so she's just a super competitive kid that wants as much as we can give her, but has a really smart understanding of where she is right now. I think that's one of the things that really separates her. And I do think it could be because she was here last year.
I don't dare ask you about Arkansas State because I don't want to get yelled at.
Okay.
But do you have to guard against your kids looking past ULM because of the looming game on Saturday?
I mean, yeah, the answer to that is probably yes, right? I think when Alex Danis, our director of ops, sends out the meal form, right, where we pre-order all our stuff, it doesn't just say Monroe, right? It says Monroe and Ark State, so they're aware. I think guard against, I don't know if I'd go that, maybe that strong. It needs to be mentioned that, like, it's not, we're not, that's not who we're playing. So all of our focus is right here in Monroe. And then we can turn the page and go from there. But it's not a new idea in general for us. But yeah, I think, I don't know, man. It's teams are different. And it's like, I looked around the room. We were talking about one game. I think it was Maine. Up at Maine. And I said, you guys remember the Maine game? And I looked around, and not one of them was on the team other than Peyton. And it was like, okay. So, like, I'm way off it. Like, so that wasn't that long ago. But no, I think that's in there. I don't, Grace McDonough, right? Gemma, Kylie, Bree McLeod. Who's this? What now? That's who you guys lost to last year. Like, I don't know, man. Right? I know how Peyton will feel. I know Barnes will feel that. I know Z and Bree, but like, it's just an interesting group, and I think it's like it's such a weird culture because I don't know. It's how I've always been as a basketball player and coach. Is like I could remember that game 4 years ago, and I like having a group of like with that experience, and it's just different. But no, it will be mentioned. It will be mentioned. We better not. We're not in a position right now where we can do something like that. If we were undefeated, all right, I can get what you guys are chasing. But like, no.
Sean, a couple of recent times you have mentioned situations, and most recently it was dealing with Zakaya giving the ball to Bree after Bree had made a play defensively the other end. So you're calling a play based upon what happened the play before. How often does that actually take place in a game on a just a general idea about that? And can it be something that you can scout a coach on and pick up a trend?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know. I'd say a couple times a game. Probably not too more than that. In my personal, there's coaches that don't ever do it. I just think it's like, if you're big, gets a big, tough rebound and is running the floor, it's like rewarding that behavior, right? And so that's not a play call, right? But that's how this works to me, because you just want people to feel important. You want them to feel validated for what they're doing for us because, so much of the game is played without the ball, so much of the game. And it's, so could you scout it? Yeah, you could, I suppose. I don't think I do it enough for that to be scouted, but I'm just really happy that Z understands that. And I think that my style is that, where like, man, I'm the coach that, man, you give to me, I'll give to you all day. And so I think that's kind of a team concept of the whole thing. And so she's been getting good at it, but she still won't call her own number. I got to do that for her.
Well, it seems to me that can be a piece of this game is one of momentum, of runs, quite obviously. That could be a component. And as you coach, as you're on the sideline, how can a coach influence the building of that momentum by making such calls as that?
Yeah. I think a lot, right? I think if your team is behavior rewarded in whatever capacity that is, right? If it's running the floor, we try to highlight that a lot where Grace runs right to the rim and sucks in two people, and now Zakaya gets to hit P gets a three, Zakaya gets an assist, Grace gets absolutely nothing. And it's like you try to highlight those plays as much as possible where, whether, I know coaches have talked about like a screen assist, right? If you set a great screen and P gets a wide open layup, you get nothing for that. There's nothing on this stat sheet that says you set a really good screen. You get the assist. And same thing with like a hockey assist, right? Or, there's different ways to do it, but I think that's the whole thing is, right, you want your players to be rewarded for the behaviors that don't always show up on a stat sheet. That's why I've done the plus minus thing, because no, the person that, like Ashanti Barnes has 18 and 15, she doesn't lead us in plus minus. Obviously helps us win the game, but like there's just so much more. And I think the more you can get that way, I think, and the more they can feed off of each other, now that can turn into momentum in games, because I'm serving you, you're serving Shane, right? And we can start feeling that. And I do think that togetherness has a lot to do with momentum.